They put me on a tripla, but at that time it was the two pills. I forgot what it was. Uh, Sestiva and Truvada. Within 2 months, I was undetectable. I gained 20 pounds. I I felt like I was very healthy and everything. So, do I believe that it's real? In my case, yes, only because that, even though it's only two pills, I think it actually saved my life because the doctor told me that if I didn't start that medication, that it's quite possible I could have been dead a few months later.
The drugs, the anti-HIV drugs
Mm-hmm.
that they gave you and that you took helped you regain your health.
But being on the pills now for 7 years and everything, you do get tired of doing it. And you want to find alternative ways of actually dealing with this, if it's a disease or not, or whatever you want to call it. If it's not, even though it may not be real, and only time will tell if it's actually is or not. I mean, HIV is not going to go anywhere anytime soon.
So yeah, let's have you guys introduce yourself to each other again.
Hey Brian, how you doing? I'm Max.
Max, I'm Brian.
Pleasure
nice
to meet
to
you.
meet you. I didn't walk today, but a lot of other people did, like yourself. And how many walks have you and things have you done to donate to the cause?
I guess to donate to the cause, probably Los Angeles AIDS Walk. This is my fourth. Mm-hmm. And then when I lived in New York, I did a lot of events and walks there. Mm-hmm. So probably all told, maybe about 10, somewhere around there.
All right. So each time you raise about how much money?
It depends. The economy's done a little bit worse, but generally, our organization this year, we raised $15,000. Last year we raised $17,000. The year before that we raised $40,000. So
Wow.
it's generally pretty good. So generally around at least 15.
Right. See, that's fascinating to me because I don't know these statistics. I don't know what an individual can generate or get pledges to do that type of thing. So that's quite fascinating. I have a question for you though, okay? And this might seem a little crazy or off base, but
Okay.
I'm prefacing you for this. Have you heard that there are alternative information about HIV and about AIDS itself?
What do you mean alternative information?
That there
Misinformation?
that there's a lot of information out there that the drugs kill people and harm people.
You mean the protease inhibitors and
the drugs are
retrovirals?
very harmful to people, and that there are other ways to get back on a good road to recovery and not to take toxic medications.
I've heard about that too. I know some people who actually believe that it actually does more destruction to the immune system, and there's a lot of people I think who try to do holistic methods where they say I want to try to heal myself naturally the same way that some people do when they have cancer. So to pick up where I left off, I think I know I've heard of people getting misinformation, some people trying to heal themselves holistically. There was a lot of talk a while back that it actually was damaging to you. There was a lot of actually kind of speculation theories. Some of it kind of founded that a lot of the drug companies were starting their medical trials in Africa, and it was actually making a lot of people in the country sicker. So there's been a lot of stuff going around about that. Yes, I've heard that.
I've been on a 6-year study of things about HIV and AIDS in general. And there's something that I've researched and I found to be quite fascinating in my psyche, is that there's times and that you can look up and see these studies that in order to be a long-term non-progressor, somebody that doesn't get any AIDS-defining illnesses or high CD4.
I'm just curious how you know so much. You do a lot of research.
Well, I kind of help the student organization at our school, but I think also too, information is really important. Where I grew up, I remember when AIDS and HIV was first breaking out, in the 80s, that there was so much weird misinformation, and I always remember this time where the newspapers actually came out and nobody really knew how HIV. There was no difference at that time between HIV and AIDS, and no one really knew how it started, and it was called the gay disease. And I remember people came out and in the newspaper in my city, and they put that it could be actually transmitted through hand contact, through normal skin contact. This was like 85, 86. And people, this was in the middle of summer, and it was so hot that all that summer, people were getting onto the subway trains with gloves because they were afraid that they might be able to get AIDS from using like the subway train. So that just goes to show kind of the power of misinformation, I think. And so it's really good to be clued into how it starts and how people can protect themselves from it really easily, you know, through contraception, through like different methods, you know, and then how to go get yourself tested on a regular basis just to make sure, you know. So I feel that that's key, you know, so that you don't actually add to the epidemic. And the people who are affected most, I mean, right now as a population are heterosexual women of color, which is kind of interesting. So, you know, it was a gay disease and now it's no longer the gay disease.
Yeah, getting back to what I was researching the drugs and drug interactions and stuff like that, and I came across some information. The information is if you test HIV positive and you don't go on any type of anti-HIV medications, that your life expectancy is near equal, if not exactly equal, to somebody who's never tested HIV positive, if you never go on the drugs. Meaning that the common denominator for long-term non-progressor status, never getting an AIDS-defining illness, never being sick, no low CD4 counts, that never touch the drugs. So I'm thinking, okay, well, this is interesting. Why are then people taking the drugs and getting sick and dying? And it's because of the toxic overload of these chemical compositions that your body doesn't really need. I mean, if you're sick beyond help of any type, okay, these drugs have been known to pull you back from a deathbed situation or get you well again. But the long-term effects are so damaging that the effects from these the side effects are actually is what's killing people, not any actual AIDS-defining illnesses or those illnesses under that umbrella. So I'm wondering if somebody like you has heard that information.
I've heard a little bit of that, and I think I've heard that before, like with medicine, just in general too. Like I said, a lot of people try to heal themselves holistically that I know, and and then when it doesn't work out, like in the last case scenario, they go ahead and resort to the drugs. I've heard about that happening. I don't really know enough about the drugs to say. I mean, I think definitely though, once you choose to go ahead with the drugs, you're sort of compelled to stay with them. It isn't anything I think that you can stop and go ahead and start again. Same sort of way, I always kind of likened it a little bit to insulin. For instance, I know like a lot of people whose children develop diabetes, and they tried to go ahead and give them a natural diet, and once you go on insulin, you really can't come back off.
That's not.
So,
I've read into that too. That's not necessarily the case.
I mean, but it's tough.
You can
tough.
cure diabetes naturally, no doubt in my mind, and I've researched that too. So
no, people have definitely tried
track.
and done it, but definitely.
I just think that
I've definitely heard that. I can't really speak enough to that.
Looking into the side of HIV and AIDS in the drugs will also start to have you question some other things that you've been told too. And I've been on that track, and it's just interesting to talk to somebody like yourself that has raised this type of money for AIDS during the AIDS walks and other types of things you do. So that's basically why I wanted to maybe ask you a question or two. I mean, we could sit and talk for another couple hours.
Absolutely,
but,
and I feel like what you should always like question anything. I feel that drugs aren't necessarily for everyone. I don't think that the magic cure. I don't think the magic bullet. At the same time, I feel the people who believe that they can be the next miracle cure patient. For instance, like the German citizen, the German national in New York, who was cured last year, and they made a big hoopla about it in New York press. Not everyone's going to have that. I feel that anytime you go ahead and put anything into your body, you should know the origin and that your body is particularly unique, and you should find out whether that combination of ingredients is going to be beneficial for you. I don't believe in my gut that the retrovirals and protease inhibitors are necessarily good for everybody. I feel like it might be good for some, and I feel like it's good that they're out there as an option, but it's probably not the only option.
The sad case is that these protease inhibitors and all of the other types of cocktails and things that these doctors prescribe, they are given out almost
like candy.
Like candy to somebody who's not sick. It's not showing any signs of any type of infections or fungus or any illness at all. They're given out because the guys are scared.
And I
The
think
people
also
are
too
scared.
I wouldn't say that's a conspiracy theory. I feel that there's a pharmaceutical industry in the United States. So you can go and get any type of pharmaceutical you want pretty much under the table, sadly enough. And I feel like doctors tend to over-medicate and over-prescribe medications here anyway, so it kind of falls in line with this basic ideology that's here.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, I think it's good that you ask questions and always ask questions and know what you're putting in your body and know the ingredients before you put it in, and don't just like trust someone's opinion on that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's very good to talk to you.
It was really good talking to you
Max,
too, Brian.
Thank you very
Glad
much.
I met you today. Have a
Okay.
beautiful day.
Hey,
Bye-bye.